Hey, welcome to One More Rep with Coach Walker. I'm your host, Coach Walker. Happy New Year, and we back at it like we never left. This is episode 10, and coaches still can't get right. So today we are talking about the most recent incident of coaches overtraining players, which took place with the university. Concordia University is a Division III program, the basketball team specifically. And the only, I guess, quote unquote, saving grace for this and for the strength and conditioning community is the strength and conditioning coach isn't listed. It is the head basketball coach. Doesn't make it any better. His name is Steve Kohler, Kollar. And what took place? The team was on a trip out west to California. Players broke curfew or missed curfew, however you want to term it. The consequence was what they termed or what they labeled what was the media called rigorous and grueling workout. But the way it was phrased in the letter from the athletic director, it was a particularly high intensity collegiate level circuit training workout. So if you know what circuit training is, it's multiple stations where you spend anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, depending on who's setting it up. At each station, on the timer, on the whistle, or on the command, you switch stations with little time in between to rest. I don't know what you would consider a collegiate level circuit training workout, but aside from like the level of weight used, if you're using weights, circuit training is circuit training. But circuit training that sends you to the hospital is something wrong there. And if it's considered collegiate level and it sent collegiate players to the hospital, 5 of them to be exact, then shouldn't that be considered something more than collegiate level? So this workout took place December 31st, last day of 2022. A hell of a way to end the year in my opinion. That's that day. Workout the following Monday and Wednesday, January 2nd and January 4th, you had 5 players admitted to the hospital for at least a number of hours, up to a few days. So they're in the hospital being treated for their conditions. So the 2 main conditions that they were being treated for were, let me see here, I wrote them down somewhere over here. Lactic acidosis, and the one that always happens when you have these grueling workouts, the rhabdomyolysis, or rhabdo as we know it. And if you don't remember from the very first episode I ever did on this whole podcast, rhabdo is a condition which is caused by extreme physical exertion, which can be fatal or result in permanent disability. Not every case, some cases it can happen. People don't understand exercise used incorrectly can kill you. It is a stressor on the entire physical system. Using it as punishment does you no good if you don't know what the hell you're doing. If you punish people with exercise and you don't know how to scale it, if you don't know if they have any underlying conditions, if you don't know that they're up to the challenge, it can cause you a world of pain that you did not expect and that you're not ready for. The other condition, lactic acidosis, it is a condition in which there's too much acid in the body. Lactic acidosis begins when a person's body makes too much lactate, or is underusing the lactate that it already has, and it is unable to adjust to those changes. So it basically, your body becomes very acidic, bloodstream becomes very acidic, and you need to be treated for that. That one's less likely to cause any long-standing damage or cause fatalities, but untreated, obviously it can. But looking at these 2 things, you have 5 players on this basketball team. Again, a basketball roster at 80 level, collegiate, D1, D2, D3. It's not a huge roster. You have 5 players that go down from this. Coach got suspended, not losing his job because when in their investigation they found that he didn't operate with malintent. There was no hazing found, and there was no intent to harm. Is what they thought from this found in their investigation. And they also listed some agitating factors. Let me see if I can find those here for you because I looked those up as well. But some of the things that they talked about, they said basically hydration levels, the fact of traveling from basically Chicago to California, the air travel, nutrition factored into these things. So it wasn't just, in their opinion that they had, that they put out there, that the athletic director, specifically Peter G, put out there, is saying that these are agitating factors and it wasn't just the workout alone. Okay. If let's say we remove the workout, we just keep the flight from Chicago to California, we keep the lack of hydration, we keep the nutrition piece that they're talking about, we keep those three things intact, do we end up with rhabdo and lactic acidosis? Probably not. So we keep coming back to this thing where coaches are using workouts as punishment, or thinking that I'm going to push you to your limit and we see what happens. Whether you think that way or not, that's what you're essentially doing. And it doesn't pan out ever. Like, you either have hospitalization and long-standing injury, or you have death. It doesn't do anybody any good to do this, because okay, they broke curfew, they broke a rule. Okay, cool. You know what you could have did? They came in. If you knew they broke curfew at that time, if you have somebody in your staff willing to do it, when they let them break curfew, okay, I catch you early. You come in, we go straight. Now we still keep the workout, but now we just make the workout early in the morning. We scale it to where you now lose some sleep, but we don't push you to the point to where we injure you. Because they're injured, they had to cancel the next 2 games on their schedule. They had to send out the AD sent out the letter to the parents explaining what happened. Coaches suspended, players are injured, recovering, and they were all released from the hospital as of, I want to say, this past Saturday. So everybody survived, everybody's okay, but we didn't have to end up here. And I didn't check their website to see if they had a strength and conditioning coach. Most D3s typically don't, because it isn't like a mandatory thing. And the other piece too, workouts aren't mandatory at the D3 level. It is voluntary for a lot of places. I think they're moving in a direction where some sports or some programs just in general, they can have some mandatory workouts, but overall they're voluntary. You took a bunch of kids, essentially, like from 18 to 21. You're a young adult, but you're still a kid. You took them from wherever they were at, and you took them to California. And in December, you were in Chicago previously. So let's be smart about how we plan this out and say, okay, let's schedule some time to like get these kids out, these young men out, and let them explore while it's a little bit warmer outside. And then we're in California. Let's figure this out. Let's make it worth everybody's while to be here. We're here on business, but let's make sure let's maybe plan in some hours of exploration time. But let's keep in mind, you're dealing with the health and well-being of human beings every time you do something like this. You put somebody's well-being at risk when you operate out of frustration, anger, or you have a point to make and you use exercise to do it. If you have not done the research and done the studying and put the time in to understand what you're doing and what the ramifications of what you're doing could be if you use it the wrong way, you don't need to be the person executing that. If you're operating out of frustration, like anything else, like you would tell a toddler, walk away, Take a breather, then come back to it. Figure it out from that point with a clear head and a clear mind where you're not operating off emotion. You don't have a point to prove at that point. You can sit down, talk to him, explain to him what's going on here. The other piece is you're dealing with the lives of other people's children. I'm a coach. I know that if this happened to my son, you ain't dealing with Coach Walker no more. You're dealing with Dad Walker, and it's up from there. Because why? At the end of the day, it is a sport. It is not the end all and be all for everybody. You may get some players that make it to the next level from the D3 level. But for a lot of kids that at different, depending on the level of sport, this is a means to getting an education. It is a means to furthering a passion. It is not the end all be all for the rest of their life. So don't make it the end of their life by pushing them too hard during the workout. You need to always operate with the mindset of do no harm when you are training individuals. Because as the professional, they are putting their safety and trust in you. Again, this was the basketball coach. So it's not the stick to basketball argument or anything like that you have people out there saying, but be smart about what you do. If I'm going to put you through some drills, put you through the drills and go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to make you sweat, your water breaks or whatever, but I'm going to push you, but I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to have you out here. I need you to understand what it is. Like, does come here and sweat? Okay, let's say if they're dressed up and if they went out. They're dressed up in their clothes, keep those clothes on. Let's get those clothes as sweaty as we can, and we're going to sit down and talk. So we're going to do, like, there are different ways to go about it. You don't have to push people to the brink of seeing their maker because you upset because they didn't come in on time. Like, be smart. It's not that hard. Like, we shouldn't be starting the year off with a conversation like this. We shouldn't be starting the year off with this incident happening. Backing up, we shouldn't have ended 2022 with some crap like this and carried it into 2023 because it was unnecessary across the board. And okay, that's the other thing. It was New Year's Eve. You traveled on New Year's Eve expecting them to stay inside. 18 to 21 years old, maybe 22 years old on the high end. Be real. You should have planned better. And now you're pissed and now you sent them to the hospital. Be smarter. Rhabdo can kill. It has been known to kill. It has been known to alter the quality of life for individuals after them experiencing it. Be smart, because you're dealing with the well-being and lives of individuals and the children of families and brothers and sisters and everything else. Be smart about what you're doing, because you injure somebody, you kill somebody. What does it look like then? What do you feel justified? Well, they broke curfew, or they did this, or they did that, so I worked them out and now they're dead. That is a real possibility. Be smart. It's been Coach Walker. Maximize, improve, excel, train like you mean it, but don't overtrain your athletes. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.